Hello there. This is Dan Gates with De Pere Fire Rescue. We're going to be covering Unit 2. We're going to be going through the 6 identified items that have been listed for the assignment. So the first one we're going to talk about is the basic concept of education, enforcement, and engineering. So with education here at De Pere Fire Rescue, the fire prevention talks consist of having fire safety conversations with several civic groups within our city, such as the Kiwanis, Knights of Columbus, organizations like that. We do have fire prevention talks with all of our local schools from grades 4K to 3rd grade. We meet with several of our senior groups over at our senior center and discuss fire safety. The last Saturday in the month of September, we have a fire department open house where we promote fire safety and prevention with demonstrations and several different things going on throughout the day. We meet with several businesses throughout the city, talk about fire safety, have classes on how to use fire extinguishers and so forth. And that also goes with our summer help employees that are through our Parks Department and Public Works. From the enforcement end, the fire department personnel conduct inspections annually or semi-annually, depending on the occupancy. These are usually random tests that are assigned by our Assistant Chief of Fire Prevention to the crews and the shifts and the districts. Obviously, appointments could be made if they don't work out, but that's where we move forward with that. And then in the engineering portion of the basic concepts, the city conducts plan review. We look at the site maps just to make sure that your new structure can meet the needs of our apparatus and operations or tactics that need to be done. We also conduct acceptance testing for fire sprinkler systems, and the building process. Whenever you're taking occupancy, the final inspection prior to occupancy is usually one step that we also do with our building department. How the code is enforced. The code is enforced through fire inspections, also through the building inspection process. They're the main people who really find things on the front end, if you will, before it even gets down to the line personnel of the fire department. And the biggest thing that we try to promote and tell anybody who's in the building process or when we're doing fire inspections, it's for their safety, it's for the customer safety, it's for safety within the workplace. So that's really how we go for that. So how the code is applied to new and existing occupancies. Within the city limits of De Pere, we adopted NFPA 1 for our fire inspection process. This really takes effect for new occupancies that are building or moving forward. For anybody that is grandfathered, for lack of better terms, if there's a big change by NFPA 1, we do give them an adequate amount of time and an estimated cost. In my time here, I haven't seen a big significant change where it's going to be a large cost or burden to the building owner, if you will. Now, where that does take effect, however, is if you are in building A and you're just a business type structure that doesn't have any suppression system or anything like that, just regular general office type stuff. And I would come in there and decide I'm going to do industrial type painting and welding and so forth. I would then be responsible for that type of cost to bring that type of occupancy up to where it needs to be for the type of business that's going to be in there. So there is some cost behind that. We have had several issues with some businesses that moved in. One that I can think of is it was a place that manufactured trusses, and then a painting place moved in there which didn't have any suppression systems for their paint booths and so forth. But it all got worked out in the end, but that's just one example. So how we determine fire resistant building materials, really what we go by here is the fire ratings that are tested by the Underwriters Laboratory. That's a pretty standard across the nation. They do a lot of testing to make sure things are safe and the fire resistant levels. We also rely on the Building and Life Safety Council for the NFPA. And another really good advocate here in the state of Wisconsin is the Wisconsin Home Builders Association. The state of Wisconsin, for their building code, uses SPS 362 of the Building and Structures along with the International Building Code, between these two types of references will give you what types of testing need to be done by the type of materials. So, for example, they'll tell you that you need a 20-minute fire door between a garage and the interior portion of a residential structure, basically the house portion. However, it doesn't tell you that that door needs to be a concrete door, a steel door, or a wood door. It just needs to be a 20-minute door. The type of tests that determine fire ratings, what I found being a home builder by trade and still doing it to this day is that most manufacturers are really conducting their own testing and then go through the Underwriters Laboratory to be anywhere reputable by any means. I'll take an example of gypsum board 5/8 material. That has gone through several tests of their own just to prove that it is a fire barrier, that is a product that you do want to use in helping in fire prevention, or reducing fire spread. Another example that I could point out is, where people kind of get a little nervous is engineered TGI floor joists. Well, Weyerhaeuser does do an extensive amount of testing on their glue to determine the heat point of when the glue actually fails, and the glue is part of what fails or burns in fires. So the products themselves do quite a bit of testing on their own. And fire ratings to inspections and code enforcement in our area, we specifically rely on SPS 362, the NFPA NFPA 1 and the International Building Code. Like I said earlier, the majority of this is really caught in our building department. We work real closely with them. They're really the ones who catch everything on the front end. And when it comes down to line staff who are out doing the inspections, we don't see the major issues that would present, I guess, to the building inspector. We'll see maybe an extinguisher that's out of date or a sprinkler system that hadn't had a compliance test. That's really where we fall. If there's anything big or major for us, we're pretty fortunate that we can push it up the chain, and the assistant chief of fire prevention usually takes care of that, or the senior building inspector. So that's all I have for you folks. Once again, Dan Gates with Pure Fire Rescue, and be safe out there. Thanks.